the book, Being There, Why Prioritizing Motherhood in the First 3 Years Matters. And I'm here today to talk to you about why babies are not born resilient and how to help our children to become resilient. First, let me define what resilience means. When we refer to resilience, we mean resilience to stress, or the ability to cope with adversity in life. And it is not something that we as human beings are born with. Rather, it's something we learn through the interaction and attachment to our mothers or primary caregivers in the first 3 years, and the emotional security that is derived from that connection. The most current research talks about the fact that we are genetically born with either a kind of sensitivity to things like anxiety or depression or mental disorders of any kind, or we're not born with a genetic proclivity. And many, many children now, we understand, are born with a genetic predisposition to some form of anxiety or depression. And what that means is to really raise a resilient child, we have to be as present as possible, both emotionally and physically as possible in the first 3 years, and be what I refer to as sensitive, empathic nurturers. Meaning we have to be the kind of nurturer that leans into our child's pain when they're in distress and soothes their pain, both reflecting how they're feeling. So if your child is feeling sad, you don't meet them with a great big smile, but rather allow them to be sad. And even with your own facial expression, express how you feel their sadness. Maybe your face takes a little bit of a sad look to it. That's what we call emotional reflection or mirroring, like holding a mirror up to the baby to say, actually, we see you, we acknowledge your feelings, and they're valid feelings. And this kind of sensitive, empathic nurturing and soothing babies when they're in distress helps them to become emotionally secure and then helps them to become resilient to stress. We know that mothers serve a very critical biological function for children in terms of developing their resilience to stress. Mothers buffer children or protect children from stress in the first 3 years by soothing their distress. And it is this moment-to-moment process of mothers soothing their babies in distress that brings their babies back to what we call emotional homeostasis. And it's after a 3-year period of mothers doing this from moment to moment, protecting babies from stress, that children internalize the ability to be more resilient to stress or to cope with stress. In some parts of the world, mothers actually carry their babies on their bodies for a full year to protect their babies from stress, like marsupial animals, like kangaroos or koala bears. And in this way, mothers protect children from stress, thereby ensuring the emotional and stress resilience in the future. Here are some tips for parents to help their children to become resilient over time. One is to be as sensitive and empathic as you can in nurturing your child. So when they're in distress or in pain, that you reflect or mirror their feelings rather than dismiss them or distract them from their feelings. Another is to be calm and loving in your tone of voice. The calmer and less anxious you are, the more easily your child will feel that sense of emotional security and protected from stress. Be as physically and emotionally present in those early years, the first 3 years, as possible, as physically affectionate in particular as possible. And in particular, don't let your baby cry it out. You know, there's so much controversy about sleep training and letting babies cry it out, and I do have another video on my YouTube channel about why letting babies cry it out is really not a good thing for them neurologically. So if you're interested in the details of that, watch that video. But what I'll say is some frustration, little increments of frustration, are something that babies have to experience throughout their upbringing. Meaning every time a mother hears a baby cry but can't get to the baby immediately, that's a little bit of frustration. But letting a baby cry out is really quite traumatic for a baby, both emotionally and neurologically. So you don't want to let babies cry it out. It doesn't actually promote stress resilience. It promotes defensive independence, which we know is the opposite of stress resilience. I am Erica Komisar. This has been my video on why babies aren't born resilient to stress and tips for parents on how to help babies to become more resilient to stress. through the kinds of nurturing you give them. If you like this video, tune into my YouTube channel for more videos like it, or check out my website, www.komisar.com, and buy my book, Being There: Why Prioritizing Motherhood in the First 3 Years Matters.